Hey, Dr. John here with LifeSpa Ayurveda. Today I want to talk about the science and the ancient wisdom of using castor oil as a remedy, both internally and topically. There's a lot of mythology these days going around about what castor oil can and can't do. And I thought it'd be a great idea to talk about the science and also the ancient wisdom. Castor oil has been used for thousands of years in Ayurvedic medicine. A vast majority of the castor oil comes from India. They know a lot about castor oil. So let's dig in. Now, if you're watching this on my website, please subscribe to our newsletter. And on your way out, please check out our Ayurvedic store. And also make sure you read the full article so you get all the science behind it. Because that's what we do here at LifeSpa Ayurveda, is we combine ancient medical wisdom of Ayurveda with modern science. And all the articles are cited with all that science that's there. Okay, if you're watching this on YouTube or any of my social channels, please like, subscribe, and follow if you're liking our content. When I was in India studying in Ayurveda back in the late 1980s, one of my teachers said if you want to treat arthritis or prevent arthritis, you just take a teaspoon of castor oil, put it in your chapati, like your tortilla, and have that with your main meal every single day as a way of preventing that. What castor oil does internally, it has a obviously laxative effect. It is only approved by the FDA as a laxative. It's a very harsh laxative, and I'll talk about that in a minute, but it does help to move the waste out of your body in a more efficient manner. And many of the reasons why we have arthritis is because undigested food, Ayurveda calls ama, foods that's not properly digested, according to the science, will get through the intestinal tract, through the stomach, into your intestinal tract, and get uptaken into the garbage can, which is your lymphatic system, of which the lion's share surrounds your intestinal tract. And if that gets congested and your joints and muscles are trying to dump that trash out through the lymphatic system, and that system is already congested because of weak upstream digestion, you end up with something Ayurveda calls lymphatic congestion, which is linked to a host of health concerns, including accelerated aging, right? So taking a little bit of castor oil is wonderful. In fact, there's good science to show that it actually supports immune function, increases lymphocytes. So it's really, really good. So I would give my kids, and we had 6 children, when my kids were young, we would give them a little bit of castor oil in a little eyedropper and just squirt it into their mouth once every couple of weeks. And my 2 oldest girls, who are now much older, they deny this, but they would literally be, I would tell them I'm the mama bird and they're the baby bird, and I would squirt the castor oil into their mouth and feed them like a bird would feed their babies. And I was like the mama bird feeding them my babies. And I did it with castor oil, and I would just sit there and be going, I can't believe I'm squirting castor oil into these kids and they're begging for more. They deny that part. But, we didn't have a lot of colds when we were kids. I wrote a book called Perfect Health for Kids, which is all about my sort of crazy ways of keeping my kids, which ended up being my patients, healthy, because kids tend to get a lot of colds. And if you have 6 kids times 10 colds per year, times each cold lasting 10 days, that is a ridiculous amount of colds that became unacceptable. So anyway, point being, castor oil did work for them. I don't recommend doing that so much anymore, because I also use castor oil in our Ayurvedic clinic for detoxification. And our Ayurvedic cleanses would always end with a laxative therapy or a purgation. And the classic way of doing that is with castor oil. But as I, became more experienced, particularly as I started having patients doing cleanses at home, like our Colorado cleanse or our short home cleanse that people do at home, and I don't get to see them and kind of get a feel for them and how much castor oil would be ideal for them, it became really clear that castor oil was unreliable. Some people would have a great result. Some people would have an overzealous result where they were really, really pushed too hard in a laxative kind of therapy effect. And some people had no effect at all. So it was just across the board unreliable. So I don't use it that way anymore. And also, let's talk about the castor bean itself. Castor bean is made up of many constituents. The 2 major ones are called ricin, which is a poison, more poisonous than cobra venom, believe it or not, according to the FDA, and also have something called ricillinic acid, which is actually quite beneficial for you. And when people were harvesting the castor beans, because they were being exposed to the ricin, this poison, there were a lot of health concerns for the growers. So between the growers and the harvesters having issues, health issues, there was a lot of issues back then. I think now they use machines for that. And then my issues with my patients, I stopped using castor oil altogether. That was my kind of history of it. But there's a lot of good news about castor oil, and it seems to be back on social media. Everybody's talking about castor oil. And we used to use in my Ayurvedic clinic something called castor oil cookies, which is a recipe that's on the article associated with this video at LifeSpa.com. Just type in castor oil, and you can get the recipe how to make castor oil cookies. Another way to sort of get that sort of chapati, get rid of your arthritis kind of technique, where you could have a cookie which is reasonably tasty and kind of get some of the benefits of the castor oil internally in a very, very small dose. Can be very, very effective. At a lower dose, below the laxative therapy dose, it's quite effective, in fact. Studies also by Edgar Casey, who sort of popularized the whole idea of putting castor oil packs on the body. There's really good science behind topical application of castor oil with a pack, soaking a felt pack or a felt pad with some castor oil, putting it on your body and adding heat to that can drive the castor oil into the deep tissues. Study after study has been shown that it increases immune function, increases lymphatic function. In one study, it was shown to reverse diabetic neuropathy compared to the placebo. It's been shown to help reduce pain, so it's very good for inflammation. In one study with immunity, 36 patients were studied, and they found a significant number of increased lymphocyte activity, and in some cases they found that actually decreased liver enzymes that were particularly on the high side. They even found that putting a castor oil pack on the belly for people with constipation actually helped them have better bowel movements, a better consistency of their bowel movements, and less straining during their bowel movements, which was also kind of cool. And there were also studies done where if they actually mix the castor oil with certain things to dilute it significantly, they can be very effective for dry eyes and meibomian gland congestion, which is the little oil glands that are on both eyelids, upper and down, upside up, the upper lids and the down and the lower lids. And they get congested from eye makeups and all the stuff we put around our face, makeups, creams, all that. They congest these oil glands that lubricate our eyes. And castor oil has been shown to be very effective in eye drops for that. So if you're very careful which kind you're using, you want to make sure you're getting the right kind. And they did studies on hair growth, and there was one meta-analysis where they did evaluated 22 different studies, and they showed that castor oil didn't have really any effect on hair growth. Putting a little bit of castor oil on your body can be very, very effective. Driving it with heat would be very effective. Putting a little bit in your belly button, there's really no science behind that. It may have some benefit because it does it does penetrate through the skin. But generally speaking, according to the studies that were done, you would need a lot more, like soaking a pad over your liver or over your abdomen or an area that was injured. It's been shown to be very, very effective topically. So there you have it. There's the research. There's a full article with all the science and all the studies there for you at LifeSpa.com. Just search up castor oil. Thanks for listening. I'm Dr. John Douillard. Do you like this video? Don't forget to subscribe and share.
This recording is brought to you by LifeSpa, where ancient Ayurvedic wisdom meets modern science. Get access to free health video newsletters by Dr. John at LifeSpa.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.